Hi, my name is Biasi, and thank you for your interest in our Conscious Classroom Management Workshop. This video is just a quick overview of some of the things that we do on this one-day training. So, as you can see, there are four key aspects to the Conscious Classroom Management Workshop, and the first one is what I call is a concept of teacher presence. This is a very important concept, and really classroom management is not just about the strategies, as you see here on points 2, 3, and 4. It's not just about, we also look at those. We look at preventative strategies, we look at supportive management strategies and corrective management strategies, and I'll talk more about what they are later on. But that's what we do in the classroom. Our presence as a teacher in the classroom is who we are, and in the workshop we talk about how both are needed. You know what I'm talking about when I use this example. Often teachers would go in and they would look at how terrific classroom management teachers manage their classrooms. They look at their strategies, they go back into their own classrooms and try to apply those strategies, but they don't seem to work. I call this the invisible aspect of classroom management, and it's not just what we do, there's a presence about what we do that's very important. So let's have a look at that. As I was saying, teacher presence is about who we are, and we need to link it with what we do, which are the strategies. When we look at teacher presence, we talk about the key beliefs that effective classroom management teachers believe, their mindset. We look at that. We look at the concept of inner authority, asking for help, self-care, and countering isolation. And what I mean by our mindset is that we have key beliefs, not just as teachers but also as students, and these beliefs, they sort of feed into our thoughts and perceptions of what things are or how they should and shouldn't be. And of course the thoughts that we have really influence how we're feeling, and our emotions drive behaviour, and it's regardless whether we're adults or students. And often this behaviour is a reinforcement of the belief that we have. So if we go in knowing that we have difficult students that we need to manage, we go in with that belief. We actually see that, and we may miss other evidence that suggests that perhaps they're wanting to learn. As an example, for a student who believes that they can't do math, or they're dumb, or they're not bright, or whatever, or they can't do exams, they have this belief, they're thinking that way, the self-talk is filled with that. They're worried, they're anxious, they're stressed, they act out according to their emotions, and you'll find that their acting out really is a reaffirmation of the belief that they hold. And Ziegler and Cialdini talk about this when they say, Ziegler says that you can't perform consistently in a manner which is inconsistent with how you see yourself. And Cialdini says something quite similar. He says the strongest need in the human personality is to remain consistent with how we've defined ourselves. So anyway, obviously we do a lot more of that in the workshop. When we're looking at preventative management strategies, there's quite a few. We look at putting in place procedures and routines in the classroom, consistency, how to develop student relationships and creating rapport and respect, and creating interesting and engaging lessons. And we look at 7 strategies there that help us do that. It's important to build a teacher-student relationship. This is one of the things we look at in the preventative management strategy section, because it helps us become aware of student triggers. We know our student interests, and we can help use that to create interesting lessons. And of course we can develop rapport and mutual respect, and it's a model for positive relations. And so just to move on here, we'll be looking at interesting and engaging lessons. Here are just some points: making connections between what the students are learning and what's important to them. Critical thinking and open-ended questions are important. Visual cues. But we also have a look at these 7 different teaching learning strategies that help really provide more engagement and interest with the students, and we go into looking at what they are in specific. What else we look at? Well, some of the stuff in the supportive management strategies. And what do we mean by that? The aim of a supportive management strategy is to not interrupt the flow of the lesson or of our instruction. We need to act but not react. And is our reaction a bigger disruption to the learning environment and the student's behaviour? If a student knows with certainty that we're going to react in a particular way, they're really in control of the class. So just moving ahead here, these are some of the strategies we look at in the supportive management part of the workshop. And we also look at corrective management strategies and breaking the cycle. There are 5 keys for permanent change that students have to actually apply. One is that a student will need to want to change, and I'll talk about how to leverage that, how to get them to the point where they realise that really what they're doing is not working for them. Then we also need to show them how to change. We need to give them opportunities to practice this changing and help them be conscious of their choices as they're choosing them, and of course get ongoing support from us, the teacher. And as I say, obviously, this is just a very short video, but we go into this in much more detail in the workshop. But in essence, as you can see, and I guess you can gather, this is we use scaffolds in our classroom teaching, and when we teach our content, and we also need to scaffold behaviour change. Another 7 strategies when we look at corrective management strategies, and the aim of the corrective management strategies is to correct and positively redirect the misbehaviour whenever it occurs, because we can try to use the preventative strategies, and that certainly minimises classroom management misbehaviour. Of course, that doesn't, not every student gets that, so we'll need to support them back. We just talked about that. They're what we call the soft strategies. And of course, if they aren't working, we need to step it up and look at some of the corrective management strategies. So that's a brief overview of the Conscious Classroom Management Workshop. There are other videos on this page you can check out, including an example of some of the communication scripts that you can see here on on point 7. Please send me an email. Make sure that you sign up for the 10-week free e-course on the front page of our website. And our website, as you've seen through this little clip here, is www.humanconnections.com.au. And when you check that website, you'll also see dates and venues for our one-day workshop, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you at one of those workshops.